Hey, how everybody doing today? It's another episode of Politicking and Demonstrating. I got my man Mike holding it down,
How's it going, everybody?
making it happen, doing this comedian thing. We're gonna talk about that today. Get into it,
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. So how you doing today, Mike? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm super honored that you asked me to be here, man.
Yeah, yeah, you doing the comedian thing, man, and then you in Vegas,
Yeah,
you doing it real big, holding it down.
yeah,
But tell the people where you from, your upbringing. What's.
yeah. I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma called Ardmore, and it was like, it's like a small city, like maybe 20,000 people.
Okay.
And I was a weird kid, I was like a theater kid and wanted to be an artist, and that was not a common thing. I had like maybe 5 friends who were
Okay.
interested in the same stuff that I was into, and you know, I managed to get out of there, man. I got very lucky. I was very lucky in that my parents were pretty stable, and my
Mm,
home life was pretty steady. And I ended up going to school for theater and going to like college and then graduate school for theater. And then right out of that, I got hired for a show called Blue Man Group that's at the Luxor.
okay.
Yeah, and I was in that show. I was in that show in New York and Chicago and Vegas and Boston and all over the world. And I was on tour for a long time. And that was an amazing gig because it changed how I looked at theater, how I looked at art, how I looked at music.
Mm,
It introduced me to, I had to learn how to play music for the show because the show has like a lot of drumming, a lot of percussion and stuff in it.
yeah, yeah.
And I really wanted the gig. And the way I got hired is that I was in school for theater, and a buddy of mine who graduated before me called me and said, "Hey, man, if you learned how to play the drums, you could get this job."
Mm,
And so I practiced for like 2 hours a night from midnight to 2 a.m. after I finished like all my classes and all the rehearsals and shows and stuff that I had to do for school. From midnight to 2 a.m. I would practice drumming in the studio. And
okay.
I got good enough to get through the audition process because the music is like really challenging and
Mm,
was challenging to me for the entire time. And like that was the best part of it for me. Like all the theater stuff and all the comedy stuff, like I had tons of training to kind of make that happen. But with the music stuff, it was like a day-to-day struggle to, keep the music director from roasting me at the end of the day for not having my shit
right, right.
together.
Man, that's real good. That's real
Yeah.
good. So what are some comedians that you looked up to? And I was just thinking about this earlier. Um, for us,
Yeah.
you know, YouTube is like a visual library.
Yeah.
So for you growing up, and also for me, we didn't have the access to all the old film or maybe a Carlin or a Pryor. You can
Yeah.
go get the records,
Right.
and
Yes.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
But now we actually have a visual library called YouTube to where you can actually see these guys perform. So kind of get into that a little bit,
Yeah.
about who inspired you,
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a Robin Williams.
Yeah.
It's just so many great comedians.
No, it's so true, man. And you're right. Like back in the day, it was about having the record, right?
Yeah.
And like they didn't play that stuff on the radio. You had to like find it. And for where I lived, it was almost impossible to find. We had one record store
Mm,
in our town, and me and my older brother would go in there and we'd find all the punk rock and all the comedy records, and we would go into the cheap bin and take the price tag off of the cheap records and stick them on the records that we wanted. So we'd pay like $2, $3. And like there was only one dude working in there, and that was the only record store in town. So he had to know that we were doing that shit.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
would just let us do it. He would just be like, all right, these kids are the only ones buying these rock and roll records and these comedy records. So like the first one for me, it was 2 records. It was Eddie Murphy, Delirious, and then the Steve Martin, like his first record. I can't remember what it's called. But those two, for me, it was just like, what is happening? Like, how is this person? And I think about it now, but it's like, I remember being super, like having my mind blown by somebody who could just be talking and like playing characters and like, the way that they played the rhythm of the jokes, the rhythm of the storytelling that they would do and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Murphy in particular, man, and Richard Pryor. I mean, obviously Richard Pryor is like
Mm-hmm.
the greatest of all time. There's
Yeah.
nobody who can touch that dude, especially as far as like playing characters and storytelling.
Yeah.
Like that dude is like, he's like Charlie Parker. He's like
Yeah.
John Coltrane. It's like the same as listening for me to like a jazz musician, because it's about rhythm, it's about flow, it's about the musicality of the characters that he plays and his voice and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all coming from him in this like instinctive way where he's not doing it on purpose. It's just coming out of him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's like when you see someone and their spiritual calling is like totally coming out of them in real time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the really intense thing about seeing a comedian like that, where it's just like, oh, this is a person who is absolutely operating at the peak of what they do, and I can't stop watching. I don't know what I'm seeing. And he, you know, Richard Pryor was capable of like totally changing how you look at him, how you look at his face when he would play those like wino characters.
Yeah. But you know, Pryor, it's a lot of dimensions to him, because you know he kind of went through a lot.
Yeah.
You know, in his career.
Yeah, he was a complicated dude.
Yeah. From Peoria, Illinois. I'm from Chicago.
Oh wow.
You know, Pryor was, you know, he was something else, man. You know, he used to be, you know, up there with Hefner at the Playboy club. You know, because you know the Playboy started in Chicago. Hugh Hefner's from Chicago. And it's just so many people that's, you know, actors and entertainers that are from Chicago.
Yeah, man.
That that's really not put out there, especially back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be like, man, you know, it's just so many clubs.
Yeah.
You know, back then. But Pryor, man, I mean, especially the early Pryor.
Yeah.
You know, coming out of, you know, finding itself and then finding itself. Yeah. Oh man, you know, Pryor was something else.
It's amazing. You listen to that first record, even from the first record to the second record, you hear him starting to like refine his style like so intensely. But he used to just come out and just tear people down.
Yeah.
And just burn the room down with like just playing around and roasting people and talking to people in the audience. And just like, I don't even know that he necessarily had any material written. Like he would just get out there and just start talking and start riffing with the people who were in the room.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And you know, comedy is you know, for the average person, we just see comedy specials.
Right.
But you know, if you into comedy, you know, you go out and really see the shows. And that's really when you really get to see a comic or a comedian at its best, working on this material, you know, getting stronger as they, you know, as they go along. Because, you know, when you just see them on TV specials, you know, you know, Comedy Central now, you know, they still, you know, rolling and things of that nature by the social media and just so many different platforms to where people can be seen now.
Yeah.
You know, it's different.
Yeah.
But, you know, back in the day, it was, you know, either the late night, you know, Carlson, Letterman, then after Carlson, Letterman, Leno, you know, Arsenio. You know, you just got the chance to see comedians on those type of platforms. So, you know, now it's different. But back then, you know, if you didn't really go to the comedy show, you didn't really get to see them work on their craft. You just see them on TV and you think it's like, voila, no, man, you know, they really work on their craft. They get on the road. And, you know, a lot of comedians, you know, by this still being the entertainment capital of the world, you still going to see a lot of comedians come to Vegas. You know, you can see a comedy show probably 7 days a week here, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's like a ready-made audience. It's like you get a cross section of America coming here night after night after night. I mean, what is it, like 200,000 people a week or something come through Vegas?
Man,
it's insane. And like what you're talking about too, like the way that a comedian builds a show is a really long process. Like you said, like when we see them in a special on Netflix or you know, on Leno, even seeing them do 5 minutes on Leno or on Letterman or on, you know, the old talk shows, like that 5 minutes would probably take them a year to put together. Of them just going into basement rooms with other comics, just kind of eating shit and like putting material out there that's not that great. You know, like even the best, man, even the best. Like I've seen Chris Rock bomb. I've seen, you know, Jerry Seinfeld bomb. I've seen all those guys like kind of eat shit in some of those comedy clubs when they're just working stuff out. And like, what's really cool about now and this new media, what you guys are talking about with like YouTube and Instagram and podcasts, and it gives the comedians so much more control over how much exposure they're capable of creating for themselves. Because back in the day, it was just those talk shows, right?
Yeah.
And you had to bust your ass for years just to get on there to do like 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
Right.
you know. And now it's like, you know, you can have a podcast. All the comedians who are out there working have like 15 jobs. Like they have 1 or 2 different podcasts that they're on. They have, you know, whatever. They have a writing group. They have stand up. They have, you know, they have a video podcast. They have like all this stuff that they're involved in.
Yeah.
And they self-release as well. They actually can self-produce and self-release all of their kind of specials and their material out into things like Spotify and Apple Music. And now there's what's the one that Jay-Z created?
The Title.
Yes,
I think
Tidal,
that's the name of it. Yeah, Title.
Yeah.
It's the streaming is most definitely changed the game, and it's also messed up the game kind of.
Yeah.
Because you know people still don't get what they really supposed to get from the streaming.
Yes.
Listen, man, listen. If you're gonna be in entertainment, you know, business, you know, I said entertainment, but focus on the business. You know, you better be a gorilla with it.
Yeah.
You know, you just better be ready
Oh man.
to really take losses and to really be you know, undervalued in certain situations.
Yeah.
You know, see, that's the thing with the entertainment business. People, you know, they want to get in it, and when they get in it, you know, a lot of people find out, man, it's really not, you know, what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you really looking for what you're looking for,
Yeah.
you better make sure you prepare yourself with the knowledge.
Oh, it's so true, man. Because all we
You
see
know.
is like the icing, right? We see the
Yeah.
glamour, we see the pretty stuff, we see
Yeah.
the appearances and all the end result of all the work that it takes to get to that place where you're
Yeah.
at the Grammys or you're, you know, performing live or you have
Yeah.
these huge shows. But yeah, man, the business part takes so much stamina and so much, I don't know, like just guts. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not that common for artists to have also the sort of head for business, you know, that people who are really, really successful have.
Yeah.
Or the ability just to self-advocate, right? Because that's the trick too. It's like we as artists are, you know, like typically very sensitive people.
Yeah.
Maybe we come from, you know, family situations where we have trauma that we have survived or whatever. And like the way that we respond to the struggles of, you know, getting into a sort of having a balance between being an artist and having a business mind, it's not necessarily always there.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's a revolving door
yeah,
of this, you know, people coming in,
yeah,
not worrying about the business,
right,
you know, just wanting to be famous,
right,
you know. It just never stops.
yeah,
Of that mindset.
yeah,
You know, you hear the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's very rare that somebody comes into the entertainment business and know the business.
yeah, man.
It's almost like you have to get in and fail
Yes.
and you know, bump your head a few times,
Yes.
and that's how you learn.
I mean, more than a few times, right? Like
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
it for years.
You learn as you go.
Yeah,
you
just
know.
get crushed and be okay with getting crushed and
Yeah.
know that that's like part of the process, right? Like hearing no is part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Experiencing failure is part of the process.
Yeah.
And the tricky part is when you get to a place where you're actually successful and when you walk out on stage, it's ready for you and there's no chance of failure.
Yeah.
Like that's the real dangerous spot
Mhm.
as far as my experience goes, because your ability or your willingness to experience failure as
Yeah.
part of a process gets like less and less and less because you
Mm.
start to get comfortable, you start to feel safe, you start to make money, you start to have like an easier and easier life.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it starts being like, oh, failure kind of sucks. Like I don't want to
Hey,
I don't want to feel this anymore.
listen. I'm telling you, man. It's a long road.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not a movie. You know,
Yeah.
you just don't you know just make it like that, man.
Yeah.
It's
And like
it's
success can make you soft, right?
Yeah.
It's a really important thing for you to remember that edge, that hardness, that drive that got you in the door in the first place is the most important thing
Yeah.
once you're in the door.
yeah, yeah,
Because without that, you're going to get soft. You're going to get your ass kicked a couple more times and you're not going to like it.
yeah,
And you're going to drop out or you're going to shut down, or your creativity engine is gonna kind of lose its kind of mojo a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
right?
And you kind of see that with a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians, um, when they first arrive, everybody gets to know them.
Yeah.
It's like, man, but the comedy world is dark, man.
Yeah, it is
It
dark.
it's a dark place.
Yeah,
You know,
true,
kind
man.
of get into that, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's interesting, I don't know a single comedian who
Mm,
doesn't have like a ton of dark shit in their
right,
lives.
right.
And I definitely have that. Like, I'm a sober alcoholic.
Mm,
I've been sober for 7 years.
okay.
My whole family, my family tree is like filled with bottles and hypodermic needles and
Mm-hmm.
dusted with a little cocaine.
Right, right, right. And we just did a little, 5-1 up. He was like, "No, I'm good, man. I'm all
Yes.
right. I'm good.
Yes.
I'm good." So that's good, man. But yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So like, but that, all of that stuff, for me is part of what makes the comedy engine kind of come out, right?
Mm,
Because when I think that one of the natural responses to the amount of like trauma and pain and dark stuff, and loss or whatever that we experience is to laugh. Like, it's kind of a natural human response. It's like, wow, I'm standing underneath like a diarrhea waterfall of like shit that's
mm-hmm.
happening to me in my life, you know and what can I do but laugh? If I can't laugh, then what have I got?
Right,
I have
right.
nothing but grief.
Yeah.
And it's like you know I can't get like, and I have to get to the other side of it first though, right? Like, grief itself is its own process, but getting to the other side of it for me is about finding the laughter in it and the joy and the ridiculousness of being a human being, man. It's like, for me, like, okay, so here's how I ended up in Vegas this time. I've been to Vegas a few times over the last
Right.
20 years as a performer and stuff, but how I ended up in Vegas this time is my life totally blew up. My
Mm,
marriage ended. I was married for almost 20 years to an amazing human being. She lives in LA, and we're still very, very close friends and stuff. But
that's good.
our marriage blew up, and then I, my nephew died of a drug overdose. My nephew, who was more like my son, my former wife and I had helped raise him, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of other people pass in my life who were very, very important to me. My dog, who I had for 15 years, who was like my best friend, died. I mean, it was
Yeah.
all at once, man. And then my friend who created this character in Absinthe,
Yeah.
that I play now, called me and said, "Hey, man, we're auditioning for this role. I'm looking for somebody to take over for me. Do you want to come and try it?" And it was one of those things where I was just like so tapped out and so broken that I was just like, yeah, whatever, man, I'll try anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I came out here not expecting to get it. And I did the audition, and it was one of those things where, like, when you're hitting a baseball or you're hitting a golf ball and you don't feel it,
Yeah.
it's like the perfect hit and it goes further than you could ever
Mhm.
imagine
Yeah,
that it's
yeah.
gonna go. It was like that, man. I was like in the audition just going like, oh, this is happening. This is happening beyond me. Like, I'm not actually in control of what's happening
Mhm.
right now. This is the universe showing me the path and challenging me to have the courage to
Yeah.
put one foot in front of the other.
And that's why I say, like, my mother just passed.
Yeah.
15th of March. Uh, and for me, like I tell people, man, you better hope the universe bless you with enough strength
Yeah.
to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm standing up here strong. I ain't going nowhere, Jack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
They say like
you
God,
know,
God won't ever put you through anything that you can't handle. or
listen,
whatever.
man.
But sometimes you're just like, dude, how many layers does this sandwich have to have before I have to?
Yeah, yeah. Soon as I start my podcast,
Yeah.
she start, dwindling away even more. So, for me, it's real, man. Like I tell people, you know, um in life, she always gonna put you in certain situations. And that's when you really gonna see what you made of.
Yeah.
That fabric and that cloth that you cut from.
Yeah.
So hey, man, like I say, my mother passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I gotta keep going, man.
Yeah.
I can't crawl in the corner fetal, and just give up on life.
Yeah.
No, I got to keep going, man.
Yeah,
So
man.
that's what we're gonna keep doing. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna keep politicking and demonstrating, and
Yeah.
hey, man, living our life.
Yeah.
And getting the blessings.
Yeah,
Because I didn't got a few blessings in the last, week, couple days, and my mother gonna always be with me.
Yeah.
She with me right now.
Grief is a really intense thing like that, right? Like
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I actually think that grief, people were always saying like, does it get less? Does it get easier? All of that stuff.
yeah.
I don't necessarily think that any of that is true. I
Right.
think that it doesn't get smaller. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get lighter. I get stronger
Right.
and get better at carrying
Yeah.
it. Right.
I'm glad you said that. See, this is why um this is when, for me, everybody has that their own way of life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And when you spiritual, you look at things a little differently.
Yeah.
You know, um and that's why it's good to be in my opinion, it's better to be a spiritual being,
Yeah.
you know because you look at things totally different
Yeah.
than someone who might have a particular religion.
Yeah.
Like for me, man, I'm not gonna even lie to you. um I don't know what's inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's inside of me, but I'm telling you, man, the universe blessed me with some strength
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't even think I was gonna have.
Mm-hmm.
When my mother passed,
Yeah.
that was always our biggest concern. How you gonna hold up,
Yeah.
Sterling,
Yeah.
when I'm gone?
Yeah.
And the universe say, you know what, we're gonna go and bless you with a full tank of gas.
Oh,
Not
man,
not,
that's amazing.
not a half a tank. We're gonna go and give you that full tank.
That's amazing.
And then bam, go on and wrap that strength around you.
Yeah.
I'm strong. I'm probably stronger than I ever been in my whole life.
That's amazing.
You know, and my mother prepped and groomed me
Mm-hmm.
for this.
Mm-hmm.
It might sound strange, to people, but hey, man, she prepped and groomed me for this,
I don't
man.
think it sounds strange at all, man. I think
You
that's
know,
absolutely the case. It's like
yeah,
there's no way to really know how strong we are until we're loaded up with some weight like that.
yeah,
We're talking
yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
man, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go like, oh, wait a minute, I'm standing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, I'm walking. I'm putting
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other. I can do my life. And it's like, and again, it's like with grief specifically,
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we don't turn away from the experience of grief, right? Like
Right.
turn away with like drugs and alcohol, sex, shopping, whatever. Like, I mean, sometimes that stuff is helpful,
Yeah.
can like give me a momentary release
Mm-hmm.
or a break from the intensity of some of my grief.
Yeah.
But ultimately I have to allow myself to experience it as much as I need to, as much as it's going to be. I need to allow it to take the time that it's
Yeah.
going to take.
Yeah.
And if I allow myself to do that, I can learn a great deal of truth about who I actually am.
Yeah.
Right. And I can sometimes be surprised and come out much stronger with a much stronger sense of who I am and what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
And like, look at what you're experiencing right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's still very new for you.
Yeah.
You're already like standing, moving forward, taking your day, taking your time, not letting it shut you down. Like, that's a very big deal, man.
And I'm gonna tell you this, man. If you don't believe, listen, there's something out there, man.
Yeah.
So whatever you believe in, whatever whatever name you want to put on the title, or I'm not knocking nobody for what they do, what they believe in, how they live their life. Long as it's not affecting mine. So like I say, man, hey man, the universe say, you know what, gotta go and make sure he gonna be okay. We gonna make sure we gonna feel his all the way up to the top.
That's awesome.
And it just is what it is, man. This is what makes the great ones. So you got to keep going, man. You got to keep going. And that's why by him being a comedian, he understands these type of trials and tribulations. You going through certain things. That's why I say the comedy is dark.
Yeah.
A lot of people, y'all be seeing the the he and the ha but it's dark.
Yeah.
Comedy is
comedy comes from pain, right?
Yeah, it's trust me, it's a lot more dark in it than it is light.
Yeah. I think that all good comedy has like a lot of anger in it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of rage.
Listen, man.
And it can come out and flip it, and I can kind of turn it into a thing where I make light of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing for me too as a performer. Like my story of like being a performer and then getting sober and still being a performer. Like when I was younger and I was performing, I in my family I was invisible. Right? I was, you know, always struggled to be seen. I was I was very small. I was very like always making space for other people and shit. And that then as a performer, the reason I became a performer is the first time I hit the stage and made people laugh and got that like instantaneous validation.
Yeah.
It was like a drug. Right? And so I start chasing that and chasing that. What can I get? How can I get out there? And it started to become a thing of like, I needed the audience to tell me that I existed.
Right.
Right. And if I didn't have that, I felt like I was falling apart. I felt like I was nothing. I felt like I was, you know, a pointless human being.
Right.
So then I had this really crazy experience, man. Like all of that started to kind of translate into me abusing drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Then I would kind of use that to get a little looser, a little crazier, to get that validation. The
Right.
crazier I got, the more laughs I got, blah, 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 blah. Right. And then it gets out of control. And then I need to get sober. And thank God, man. Thank the universe for making me crash land in a 12-step program and find some people who I thought were cool and kind of help me out. Right.
Yeah.
So like I got sober, and in sobriety, my need for that validation kind of went away because I started to kind of love myself and learn how to have like higher self-esteem and stuff like that. Right. And the need for that external validation went away. And what happened is my relationship with performing got weird because I was like, well, if I'm not up here looking for external validation, what am I doing? Right. So I had to take this weird like 3-year break from performing where I was just, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, do I become a psychiatrist? I've started looking into being like a drug and alcohol counselor. I started looking into like, I was working for a nonprofit. I was teaching self-defense for a while, and we can talk about that too. I was teaching Krav Maga, which is a self-defense system that comes from Israel. It's super crazy. It's all like dirty fighting and shit. But like, then I got this gig where I was, as a comedian hosting like a music festival. And I was like, okay, I need money. I'm going to take this gig. And I'm going to see if I can flip my perspective. Instead of going out there seeing what I can take from the audience, I'm going to see what I can give to the audience.
Right.
See if I can just kind of flip it. Right. And man, the universe showed up for me in a way that I could never have imagined, where I started to have these experiences on that tour where like a woman came up to me after a show and said, hey, I just beat cancer. I haven't laughed in 6 months. Thank you for this show. And then a dude in a wheelchair was like, hey, I'm a veteran. I just got home from Afghanistan. My legs got blown off, blah, blah, blah. I've had a hell of a time. Thank you for the show. We were laughing. We had a great time. And I was just like, oh, man, this is what it's about.
Right. And loving yourself.
Yeah.
Learn how to love yourself before you get into these type of activities.
Absolutely.
The entertainment business.
Oh, my God. If
because
you don't know who you are and you get into this thing will eat you alive.
Right. Looking for the validation from the people.
Yeah.
But if you love yourself, you're not even worried about that type of stuff.
The love, the respect, the encouragement that I want, it needs to come from here first.
Yeah.
Right. Without that, I have nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because if I'm looking to another person to tell me that I'm good, then I'm in trouble. Right. It's the same thing as me believing somebody if they tell me I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
It's absolutely no different. Right. I need to give it to myself. Then when somebody else says it to me, good or bad, it kind of doesn't matter. I can say thank you, or I can say, we're done.
The real high should be not disrespecting self.
Yes.
Taking care of self.
Yes.
Knowing thyself.
Yes.
You know, that's the real truth.
Yeah, man.
And everything else will fall into place if you in that lane.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you kind of brought that up about the martial arts and, you know, the self-defense and things of that nature, because, you know, a lot of people don't understand that, you know, a comedian will whoop your ass. You know, a lot of people, you know, you think just because, you know, they telling jokes and hee ha ha. Hey man, it's some comedians out here, man, that'll whoop some rappers. You know what I'm saying? Like real talk. You know, that's cut from that cloth. You know, like I got to keep going back to the dark part. You know, being a comedian ain't easy, man. You know, so don't get it twisted. So kind of get into that. You know, you said it came from Israel. Yeah, kind of get into you know
I got into martial arts when I was really young, and then got out of it because I was, you know, too busy taking drugs and drinking,
right,
acting like a fool. And so as an adult, I got back into it. I was kind of poking around online, you know, probably like 10 or 12 years ago, looking for a martial arts system. I really wanted to start training again. And I was kind of looking at like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is, part of, what now is like a structure of the MMA kind of situation. Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a grappling
Yeah,
martial art,
yeah.
mostly wrestling and stuff, and submission holds. And then I started looking at, and then I discovered Krav Maga, which is it's an Israeli system. They don't even call it a martial art. They just call it a self-defense system because there's no art.
Right.
It's just really, really nasty shit that you do to somebody who's trying to cause you harm.
Right.
So it's like eye gouging and throat punching and ball smashing and
right. Well, this is the thing, nothing's new under the sun.
Right.
So what you do is you learn the craft as best as you can.
Right.
For me, I don't want to master anything, because if I master something, that means I put everything into that one thing.
Right. Yeah.
I'd rather be multi-dimensional
Yeah.
at certain things, at certain things. But when it comes to martial arts, it's kind of like what Bruce did. 31 flavors.
Yes.
I'm gonna take this,
Exactly
and that.
right.
But first, I got to learn the craft so that I can be able to teach people.
Yeah.
And I always have to be ahead of the people that I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I always have to be a few steps ahead. So, the system that you're talking about is basically just things that they took
right
and said, okay, this is our demonstration. This is what we're going to do.
It borrows from Muay Thai. It borrows from wrestling. It borrows from Jiu-Jitsu. It borrows from all the great. It's the same thing, what you're saying about Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Like Jeet Kune Do, the system that he created, a lot of people call it the first mixed martial art.
Yeah.
Because he borrowed from so many systems, from so many martial arts, and kind of built one that he thought was the most effective.
Right.
His was like, I preemptively, like I see somebody about to punch me and he tries to like punch them before they get to him and stuff. And that's like Bruce Lee shit. That guy was like so fast that he could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But like the thing that I liked about Krav Maga as a self-defense system is that it's something they call it the fast food of martial arts.
Right.
Because it's meant, originally it was created for the Israeli military.
Okay.
And the instructors only had the guys, the people that they were training for like 6 weeks. So they had to teach them a lot of stuff in a very short period of time.
Right.
So it builds off of your instincts. Somebody chokes me, I reach for my neck. So it builds off of that. Instead of reaching for my neck, I like punch you in the face and also reach.
Right.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And then it's also about one of the primary philosophies, if there is a philosophy for Krav Maga, is about like when confronted with violence that you can't talk your way out of, you respond with just an insane amount of aggression. Which is very Israeli, right? Like that's you think about how Israel responds to things like any aggression from any other country that surrounds them. They just respond like super aggressively and just bomb the shit out of anybody who gives them any trouble. It's very Israeli. So it's like if I can't walk away from it, if you're not going to let me walk away, if you're determined to cause me harm, I'm going to go apeshit for like 3 minutes until you are like in enough trouble or in enough pain that I can run away.
Right.
And then when I learned how to teach that, the reason I learned how to teach is because I was broke. And I talked to my instructor and was like, hey man, is there anything I can do to keep training here? Cause I don't have any money. Can I clean the toilets? Can I wash the windows? Can I? And he was like, no, I'm not going to have you do that stuff. I'm going to teach you how to teach. Right. So he started he spent a lot of time and effort, took me aside and taught me how to teach the techniques.
Right.
And man, I mean, nothing, I don't know if you've ever been a teacher before or anything like that, but like nothing will deepen your experience as a practitioner like teaching. Right. If you have to learn how to describe the stuff to another person to make it possible for them to understand it, it's like your understanding of it goes just like deeper and deeper and deeper. It's amazing, man. It was like the craziest, like my technique got so much better when I learned how to teach. Right. Because I had to learn how to boil it down to the most kind of digestible bits of information. Right. Because the person is like nervous and stressed and new and doesn't understand what we're talking about. And it's like, how little language can I use to help you to unlock your understanding?
And see, that's special when say if you got a class of 20, and you can all get them to do the same thing under your method, something that you thought of, just to make it easy enough, but you got everybody doing the same thing. Oh, it's amazing. And then you might have a few people that might not be able to catch it, but you still working with them. But you got everybody. Come on, man. That it takes a lot at first, but like you say, after a while, it's a drug.
Yes,
it is.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And then you get to that place where you start to see people make progress.
Yeah.
Like you see people come in, especially like, typically young women, or like, somebody who was like just a little more timid or a little less comfortable. And, with a self-defense system, you get a lot of people coming in who come from trauma.
Right.
Like I got mugged, or my dad beat me up, or my boyfriend beat me up, and I need to learn how to defend myself.
Yeah.
Right? So you have people coming in there already scared.
Right.
And then you're starting to ask them to like make a fist, throw a punch, be aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff does not come naturally to them. And they actually have to like take a little time to like work through some of the fear in order to get to a place where they can do that stuff. But the coolest thing is like with time and patience and encouragement, like 4 months in, you see them like running the show.
Yeah.
Like they're with their partner driving them into the floor and shit. It's like so cool to see.
And what a lot of people don't know, and Bruce, he kind of talked about it, a little bit for the time that he was here, controlling your fear.
Yeah.
Cause the motto talked about it, you don't want fear, he said fear is like fire.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it to spread
Uh-huh.
to where it gets out of control, to where
yeah.
you can't, now you can't control your fear.
Yeah.
So fear is something that can be suppressed and controlled. You have to learn how to control your fear.
Yeah.
Life is deep, but at the end of the day, it's shallow because it's just so many things that have been kept from us to make it seem like it's deep, but it's just life.
Yeah, man. Fear is my companion, right?
Right.
Fear is the thing that teaches me how to be courageous.
Yeah.
Without fear, how can I possibly know how to walk through that kind of thing?
If you ain't getting them butterflies, something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Something wrong with it. They always say that, a person that don't have no fear, that's dangerous.
It's the same thing as pain and grief, right? Why do we fall? So we can learn how to get up.
Right.
Right. And like, you ever hear this? There's a saying. There's like an old saying. I think they have it in like many cultures around the world. But there's a thing from Native American mythology about there's two wolves that live inside of us. Have you ever heard this before?
No.
So there's this story that there's like a father and a son talking. Right? And the father says, you have two wolves. The son says he's scared of something, and the father says, well, you have two wolves that live inside you.
Yeah.
One is a wolf of fear, right? And that wolf wants you small, wants you afraid, and wants you shut down. Then you have another wolf inside of you that's the wolf of light and strength and courage. And the son says, well, which one is stronger, Dad? And the father says, well, the one you feed.
Right.
Right. So it's like when I feed my fear, when I walk into my fear and I let my fear rule me, I'm feeding that wolf. I'm giving it strength. I'm giving it my energy. And when I instead turn to, okay, what is my option, right? I'm afraid right now. What is my option? Okay, one foot in front of the other, one thing at a time, one step at a time, one little tiny moment at a time to get me through this experience of fear, pain, grief, darkness, whatever, struggle, getting my ass handed to me and not getting the job that I want, or getting the life that I want, or making the progress that I want to make in any direction. It's like, okay, one thing at a time. I just have to remember that no matter what, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
No matter what, I am strong enough.
Right.
I am powerful enough. And it's like all that stuff, it feels corny sometimes, it feels silly or whatever, but like it's real.
Yeah, it's really, the soul and the ego.
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie Revolver?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you should check that out. Andre 3000, Jason Statham, Ray Liotta.
Yes. I know what
that's the biggest secret that people don't know about, and that's the ego, the voice inside you that thinks it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it all kind of goes into the two wolves.
Yeah.
The ego, man.
Yeah.
A lot of and I'm not talking about the ego that most people think I'm talking about.
Right.
You really have a voice inside you that thinks it's real.
Yeah.
And it could become you.
Yeah.
And hey man, these people know about this science, man. That they took it out. That's why they gave you the devil.
Well, man,
and
if you think about it, man, things like ego and anger and fear, all of that stuff, like all those things that we see as like defects or problems.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, they are good things, right? Every defect is just an asset in disguise.
Yeah.
Or an asset that has grown disproportionately large, right? Because what is fear but something that keeps me safe, right?
Right.
I'm afraid of the tiger because I know it's going to kill me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm afraid of walking into traffic because I know I'm going to
Yeah.
die, right?
Yeah.
So what is anger? Anger is a thing that tells me when I'm being mistreated,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know somehow, you know, my boss is treating me like shit. I get mad,
Yeah.
right? You know, all of that stuff, you know, what is my ego?
Yeah.
My ego is a thing that helps me understand that I have a place in the world and that I need to own that place, right? But all of those things throughout our lives can get bigger than they're supposed to be.
Right.
Right. Like fear. Oh, if over the course of my life, say my father beats the shit out of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spend my whole life afraid of my father.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden that fear is huge in my mind and in my experience. And I can't quiet it down. And I have to practice right sizing that fear and
Yeah.
taking that fear and getting it to a place where it's just back to like a proportional
Mm-hmm.
size in my life,
Yeah.
and is used for the asset that it
Yeah.
actually is.
And some people either take it out on other people,
Yeah.
but you're still afraid of your father.
Right.
That's like the ultimate fear.
Yeah.
But you're scared of nothing else.
Right.
Or some people, it makes them small,
Right.
and they just afraid of everybody.
That's right. And then, like,
You
what
know?
is my anger, right? Like, if my whole life my father beats the shit out of me, same thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm angry. I'm angry with my father. I'm angry at the world. I'm angry at my life for putting me in a situation where I have a bad childhood or I have a painful
Mm-hmm.
childhood, right? And then my anger gets to a place where I'm just using it for everything.
Yeah.
I use it when I have feelings. Instead of letting myself just have feelings, I get mad. I get mad because I have feelings,
Yeah.
right? I get mad at people in traffic. I get mad at people in the world. And it becomes a disproportionate or a much bigger than it needs to be experience. But the truth is, my anger is a tool for teaching me when I'm being mistreated.
Right.
Right. And it's very hard for me as like a person who grew up in a home affected by alcoholism
Mm-hmm.
to know when I'm being mistreated, because I want everybody to like me.
Yeah.
Right. I want everybody to like me. I want everybody to validate me. I want to be able to take care
Yeah.
of people and stuff like that. So I give people a lot of rope.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yeah.
I can get myself in trouble in that way. And I've really had to learn over the years how to balance that and know and recognize when I'm being mistreated, or
Yeah.
recognize when someone's taking advantage of me.
It's an energy. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
You know when somebody on bullshit.
It is, right?
You know.
And it's really easy to lose touch with that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Over the course of our lives.
Yeah.
If we start focusing on something else.
Yeah.
Right?
Just don't be mad when I get on bullshit.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
You know. And sometimes you could lure people in with the bullshit. You know, you could let them think you're getting away with something,
Yeah.
make them comfortable,
Yeah.
and twist their ass up like a Twizzler. You know. But yeah, you know, the comedy, man.
Yeah.
Let the people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
You know,
so
with the
currently
comedy.
I'm in a show at Caesar's Palace called Absinthe. And it's in a tent outside in a courtyard at Caesar's Palace, and it's a circus show. They call it a burlesque circus show. So
Okay.
it's like circus with boobs, right?
Right.
So it's like I play a character called the Gazillionaire, who is like a mean rich asshole.
Okay.
And I come out on stage and just basically roast people, and then introduce the circus acts as they come in.
Right.
So I come out there and I like kind of lay into people. Like last night, there was a dude sitting in the second row who had this, I mean, I don't know who this dude was. It was like this kind of young white dude with like a super long, really gross beard. But then he shaved his mustache off, and he was like sitting there in kind of like a flannel shirt. And I was like, man, you look like a redneck leprechaun.
Damn.
And I was saying, like, at the end of your leprechaun rainbow is just a bowl of crystal meth.
Right. Damn.
Instead of gold.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
that kind of shit.
Right.
You know, so I come out there and I just kind of roast people, and we play the game of like, you know, my character, but my character is the ultimate asshole because I'm like up there in this weird mustache and I have buck teeth. I'll send you a picture that you can like, whatever, like put up on the Instagram feed or whatever.
Yeah. That's
so yeah, I go out there and roast people, and then the show is like some of the greatest circus performers out there working today.
okay.
Man. Really amazing stuff. Like we have two people who get on a unicycle, and the guy has the woman literally standing on top of his head.
Yeah.
He's riding around on a unicycle. We got like jugglers and contortionists and aerialists and clowns and people doing all kinds of tricks.
I just had an interview with Sierra Sapinar, and you know, she has her own company.
Yeah.
And they do that, you know.
yeah.
You know, the extravagant events, and you know, with the circus.
Yeah.
You know, gymnastics and all of that type of, you know.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's just like filled with these people who are like superheroes.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about training and talk about like you know, like tenacity. Like those people train and train and train. All those acrobats and shit that I'm in the show with right now, dude. After they do their act in the tent, they're all out there working out like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And they leave the tent and go back to their houses and they go to the gym again.
Yeah.
Just like train and train and train.
Yeah.
And train and train.
Well, you better be training. You jumping off shit.
Yeah.
You know, twisted and twirling, and you better you better know what you're doing. Because
Exactly.
hey, listen, man, some of the stuff you see people do,
Yeah.
you know, you be like, man, you know, it's high flying, you know,
Yeah,
acrobatic,
it's superhuman.
and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So you
super
know,
dangerous.
you know, you got to be, you know, kind of cut from a certain cloth,
Yeah.
you know, to even get into those type of activities. You have to have like a thrill,
Yeah, man.
you know, fetish,
Yeah.
you know, because the average
exactly.
person, man, can't, you know, do those
Yeah.
type of stunts that, you know, they do in the circus. And you know, it's crazy, man. You know,
It's
jumping
super
off
intense.
stuff, and hey, man, I, you know,
And even for me, man, like, you know, I know I'm going to go out there and have to deal with what's really in the room. So that means, like, as a comedian, like, I can't really write material.
yeah,
I can't, I mean, I can have little things in my pocket. Like, if there's a dude out there with a really big head, I know what I'm going to say to that dude.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
But, like,
yeah,
I can't necessarily write material, go out there and just like joke. It's about like, I got to go up there and see what's really in the room and like in the moment, create what's really happening and like create the relationships between like, you know, oh, look, there's a gay couple. And then here's some Republicans. Look, everything you voted against is sitting right there. And they get more blowjobs than you. They got more money than you. They got better seats than you. And you're like, why are these fucking, So all that stuff I have to create in real time, man. And it is terrifying.
Right.
Every time I feel like I'm about to jump out of an airplane.
Yeah, because you know, you got to know what you're doing, man.
Oh,
you know, some people are, you know, had it naturally.
Yeah.
But they can't do a whole hour set of making a joke.
Right.
Going back to the phrase in the joke.
Yes. And like that structure that comedians
together,
right?
You know, telling the whole story.
Yeah.
Then they go back to a small part in the story and give you a it might be a punchline. Hey man, you gotta have your shit together, man.
The craftsmanship of that is incredible. It's like music, right? It's like a jazz musician or a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
Like the way they structure the language to take the listener or the viewer like on a trip.
Yeah.
Right. Like that is such an incredible
superpower. And you know, entertainment, you know, it's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
With comedy, it's not rare for a comedian to have writers,
right? That's
you know. In hip hop, is something that's starting to kind of seep out, you know, to where maybe some of your favorite artists might have not wrote the songs that you thought that they wrote.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they call them ghostwriters.
Yeah.
But me sitting back, you know, not to go off subject.
No.
You know, it's all entertainment. But you know, it's a lot of rappers, man, that yeah. You know, sometimes when you become real big, you might not have the time. To write, you know, 16 songs. You know, see, this is something that's kind of, like I say, it's seeping out. You know, you're starting to kind of see ghostwriters that's been in the game for a minute come out, but they don't want to say names and things of that nature. But hey, man, it's the entertainment business. You know, so it just it's just something that's just a part of the game. You know, but some of the greatest comedians.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like, you know, Paul Mooney wrote, you know, for Richard a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know, all the great comedians with their shows and things of that nature. They had other.
Louis C.K. wrote for Chris Rock. Chris Rock wrote for people. Everybody did that. I mean, what's cool about that is that, you know, it gives young up and comers an opportunity, right, to actually make some money and like, get a better life. And when you make a little bit of money, you can relax and work on your craft a little bit more. You're not spending all your time hustling for cash. And that's a really positive thing. So I imagine that in the hip hop world is very similar to that, right? You have established artists actually giving people a living wage to kind of like share their work. And that's a really powerful thing, man. I didn't know that shit happened.
I think these ghostwriters are built in through the labels, man. You know, they got them superheroes to say, listen, man, we need 2 singles.
It makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Go on, cut it up. And you know,
an R&B artist or like a pop singer, Sia, you know, the woman, she's like an Australian.
Never heard of her.
She wrote the song Chandelier, that Rihanna song.
Okay.
Yeah. So like she was a ghostwriter.
I might have you know, I might have heard of her or might have seen her before. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, man, the conversation is great. We politicking and demonstrating. I'm running out of time.
Oh, right on, man.
My
That went
man.
fast.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's good conversation. I know what I'm
I
doing,
appreciate
goddamn.
that.
So let the people know your name
Yeah.
and where they can find you at.
Yeah, my name is Michael Rahal. I play the gazillionaire in Absinthe at Caesar's Palace.
Bang, bang.
Yeah, man, you guys got to come check it out. It's a super fun show. It's a real kick in the head. You'll laugh your ass off. You'll have your perception distorted in real time by incredible circus artists, and you get to see some naked people.
Yep. Hey, man, Vegas, we doing our thing, politicking and demonstrating. I'll see y'all on the next episode. Let's go, baby.